Hello and welcome, and Dave Basil Collier.
Neil effing Bailey.
Right, and we are actually into double figures.
Yep. We're moving on up. We're big kids now.
Right, it means we got to wear long pants.
Yeah,
got to
every
behave
time.
ourselves.
Yeah.
So we really do have an exciting episode for you guys today, and we have a local celebrity. And Dave, fill us in a bit on who we're going to be seeing today.
So Riki Rachtman is here from MTV, and you know him from Headbangers Ball and all that rad stuff. So he is, used to be an LA guy. Now he's a Charlotte/Mooresville guy. And so it's great. I'm excited. I mean, I grew up on MTV,
Yeah, and he's
So
a very
super
big,
stoked.
very big motorcyclist. Does
Yep.
awesome work riding around America, raising money for Ricky's ride.
Yeah,
And we won't give the rest of the interview away. So,
right.
you got some news for us tonight?
Yes, I have some really interesting stuff and some stories to tell. So that'll be interesting.
And do you think Nate's going to show up for Get Off My Lawn?
I certainly hope so, He is really building a major fan base. People can
Yeah, he's into double figures. He has 2 fans now. It's progress, Basil.
it
Come
is
on.
good progress.
It's progress.
So yeah, so it's going to be a fun night. Thanks for watching, and here we go.
Okay, to the main event. So sitting here with Riki Rachtman.
Thank you.
Thank
Always
you.
good to be here.
You are a Charlotte resident, motorcyclist, friend of our community, so thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Dave talked a little bit about your background with MTV, the different things that you've done. I'd really like to talk about your motorcycling. Because
That's fine with me. I like talking about motorcycling.
right, and I know that you started out teenager, usual way, dirt bikes, right?
I rode a dirt bike once. My mom, the way my mom was, if there was something that she didn't like, she didn't believe in it. Like if I wanted to eat sugar cereal, she didn't believe in sugar cereal. And the same thing goes with dirt bikes. She didn't believe in mini bikes. She didn't believe in dirt bikes, so I could never have one.
Okay, but you did get on one.
I did get on one once, which was one of those cool Honda XR75s with a silver metal tank. And I remember even having pictures of old motorcycles on my walls when I was a kid. And but I never could actually get one because she didn't believe in them.
But by the time you were a teenager, you were running around LA on a GPZ 550 Kawasaki.
That was after I was a little bit older than being a teenager, but I got to borrow a GPZ 550, which was such a cool little Kawasaki then, and pretty much learned to navigate through the streets of Los Angeles. And you think you're indestructible at that time, and so I learned to ride a motorcycle in LA, splitting lanes because no helmets, and that's what you did. And I believe if you grew up that way, riding splitting lanes, you either died or became a really good rider. So I think growing up like that made me a better rider. But I learned really quickly that you don't split lanes in North Carolina.
No.
Actually, the only place in America that you're allowed to split lanes is California, because the traffic is so bad. And then when I went back to California and I was on my big bagger and I'm riding through and I'm splitting lanes, and I was like, whoa, you really got to be on your feet. And my girlfriend Leah, who's ridden all over North America with me on the back of my motorcycle, when we get to California, she's splitting lanes. She's like, I don't like that. I don't really like that very much. So
It's funny that there's only one state that we do it. But so you had, obviously at that point you're in the music industry, and you and a group of guys in the industry went out and all bought identical Honda Rebels together. That's a cool story.
Is it really
I
a
think
cool
it's a cool
story
story,
about Honda
yeah.
Rebels? Well, my friend Gilby.
I mean, I got to remember, I came from England. I grew up
Right.
on 125s, 250s. The big bike to me was a 500.
Right.
So I don't have that perception that I saw the fun.
But
of
the
small
Honda
bikes.
Rebel was a bike that, you put it this way, if you really, really, really fixed it up, it'd be the poor man's Harley. It was just a bike that we thought looked like sort of like a chopper, and it's all we could afford. And my one friend Gilby, who ended up being in Guns N' Roses, and all my friends in Hollywood, and that's what we all rode around. I mean, now you had 4 of those bikes together, and it's actually you had 5 of those bikes together, and it's as many CCs as the bikes that we have now.
But you all had fun, right?
We had so much fun, we were just, it was crazy, and that's how we got around. And at first we all got Honda Rebels because we thought they were cool, but also that's all we could afford. We couldn't afford cars then, so that's how we got around at the time, because everybody's bands were just starting out, and I really wasn't making much money, so that was our way to get around. And I remember Laurel Canyon, which is this really, really windy road, and no helmets, of course. And I remember being stupid and drunk and going up Laurel Canyon and wanting to just lay it down until the peg scraped. And I didn't know anything about road racing or anything. And I would do it, and I'd be just like riding on it and be like, and then one day I just dropped it, and just the bike slid across Laurel Canyon, and it was late at night, and I didn't get hit or anything happened to me, but I kind of learned my lesson. These bikes, especially a Honda Rebel, these bikes have their limitations.
So, yeah, that's very similar. We grew up on small bikes. We all rode small bikes. We all did kind of crazy things. But you graduated through a Suzuki Savage 650, another chopper type.
Yes,
Japanese bike.
I don't admit that either.
You don't admit that, so we won't talk about that.
Right.
We'll leave that bit out, right? But then
these bikes, this is the stepping stone, which it sort of was not only where I was going in my motorcycling, but it was also where I was going in my career. So when I had a little bit more money, then I got the Honda Suzuki Savage, which had like blue scallops on the yellow. What a silly looking bike, but it was mine. And then all of a sudden things are going better. And of course, even from the day it was the Honda Rebel, my dreams were of getting a Harley Davidson. I wanted a Harley.
And you eventually did.
I've had many Harleys.
So was one of your first bikes, I think you said, was like a 67 pan chop?
It was a 67 pan shovel.
Pan shovel.
That was like an FLH, and I had big apes on it, and it was the Electra Glide in that year. They had electric and kickstart, which was really cool. So I'd be up in front of the club, and I'd be like, kick it over, and usually it would kick first kick. But if it didn't, then you push the button and it starts. Right? So, it's really cool. And then if it doesn't work, then you just push the button and it starts. I know nothing about working on bikes at all. And to have a 67, the Pan Shovel, which was such a great bike, and it ran so great, and then it got stolen. And I knew that if I bought another old classic bike, I wouldn't be that lucky, because I see my friends that are riding around on Knuckles and all these things, and it's like, hey, let's all go out, and then they go, and then they're at the gas station working on stuff, or they're wrenching. I'm like, I just want to ride. I don't want to spend an hour, because, I can't tell you how many times Gilby has had to have somebody pick him up, because he rides these beautiful classic bikes that he builds, but something's always going wrong with it. I'm like, you know what? Okay, yeah, my bike is new, but I'm going to ride from LA to New York, and you're not even going to get to the beach because, something broke, and I don't want to do that. So
that's why you kind of got an Ultra after that.
Yeah, I went from Ultra. I had a couple Ultras, and then I had a Dyna, which was also a good bike, and then I think I went to Ultras again. And then there was one time when I had a Road Glide, and I decided I wanted to try something different. So I kept my Road Glide, and I bought a Triumph Thruxton.
Oh, okay. Because you had Ducatis as well. Didn't you?
Yeah, then the Thruxton I made it look like a street tracker, and it was just a cool little bike. And then I went to a Ducati, and I got a Multistrada, which was really stupid, because that bike's got like 150 horse, and you'd be riding that thing, and you'd look at your speedometer, and you're going like 130, and you had no idea.
I think that's when we met.
It was.
What was that driver's?
We went.
Max Pappas.
This is when I decided to get rid of the Multistrada.
That's right.
I had the Multistrada. We went to Max Pappas's house, who was crazy. There were kids riding dirt bikes and people running
weird
around.
Animals.
Like on a farm.
It was like
a farm. But I remember I was on my Multistrada, and I'm standing there, and all of a sudden the gate started closing like this fast. It was like going like this, and I'm sitting on my bike. I'm like, oh no, that bike's gonna close. And the fence moved like this fast and just tapped me, and I tipped over and broke the mirror. And when you do that on a Ducati, it's going to set you back a couple $100. And I was like, This is silly. So I went from that to a Hyper Motard, because I thought that was such a cool looking bike. And I just realized I can't ride these bikes for what they're made for. I'm not that good. So I got rid of that bike too.
So you'd been through a lot of bikes, but what year did you get to Charlotte?
2016 maybe, or
okay,
I would say 16.
Okay, so you've been a resident here for about 4 years. So I must have met you right when you came then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because that was the first time I met our mutual friend Jody.
Yeah.
Because Jody found me on social media. He goes, hey, I'm riding my motorcycle with a bunch of guys. And I knew nobody in Charlotte, so I'm like, okay. And so I rode up and met you guys, and that's where we all met and rode around.
So interesting enough, really the last few years you've been very centered around Indian. You've got an Indian chieftain.
Yes.
When you come to Charlotte.
Yes.
And you you would have a lot more miles if you didn't use a lot of other people, like you use borrowed Indians when you do your ride.
Right. So I started doing charity. So I'll be as quick as I can on this. We used to always ride a Sturgis, which at first I thought and Gilby told me one time he rode a Sturgis from California by himself, and I said, wow, how could you ride a motorcycle 1,000 miles by yourself? That's insanity. Right? And then real quickly, my dog died, and I decided instead of riding with everybody to Sturgis, I'm just going to take off and ride by myself. And I was like, I really like riding by myself. And this moment that I think most people that ride a lot have. If you're really, really stressed out and you've got all these things on your mind, and I'm always thinking, I need to do this, I need to do that. And I was riding in the middle of the desert, and there was nothing. And I was riding out, and then all of a sudden I'm like, what am I thinking about? I'm like, I'm not thinking about anything. And the thing is, when you're riding a motorcycle, it's, of course they say, Zen and motorcycling, but it really is, because when you're riding a motorcycle, you have to be in the present. When you're in a motorcycle, you have to be aware of everything that's around you, what you're doing, and you can escape, but you can't really be thinking about, oh, did I, leave the light on? I need to have a meeting with this person. This person is in all these meetings and all this stuff, and I'm not thinking about that when I'm riding. So I started riding further and further and further, and then I believe it was 2015 or something, I said, you know what, I'm going to try to ride and see if I could raise money, because I had a good following on social media. So I think the first one I was going to ride was I was going to ride coast to coast, which I thought was like, wow. I mean, the truth is, my whole life I always said, on my bucket list, I'm going to ride coast to coast on a motorcycle. And this year was the 14th time I've done that.
Wow.
And so I started getting people to donate. I'd find different charities. And the first charity, I don't remember what the first charity was Duke Hospital, which is a big charity everybody raised money for. I raised a couple $1,000s. But it was nice. And then a friend of mine had cancer, and a musician who's okay now, he sings in the band The Super Suckers, great band, and he had cancer, so I raised like a couple grand from him. And then I just started saying, this is really picking up here a little bit. And then I decided I was going to go for a really big ride, and I was going to raise money for a foundation that helped get dogs for kids with epilepsy. I really searched out all the charities that I did, because if I'm going to work my ass off, riding a motorcycle so much, spending my own money, I want to make sure that I give this charity to somebody that's going to take every penny. It's going to go right to the charity. So I did that for that company. And then the next year, all of a sudden it's picking up. I did for the Claire Wineland Foundation, which was this beautiful girl that she was all over social media, and she had cystic fibrosis, and she's just this girl, and she posts all these videos, and I started making these crazy videos of all these places, and people on social media would tell me places to go. And all of a sudden, this is like going really, really good. And I'm pulling into places and there's 20 people there. And all of a sudden, and people are doing fundraising. I'm doing media, and I'm doing all these crazy things. And at the end of the ride, I gave them a check for 20 grand. So I'm like, this is good now. I have no publicists, no nothing. So then I start dating this girl, Leah Vendetta, who was on the TV show Ink Master. She's a famous model and TV person. And as we started going out, I said, hey, just so you know, I'm a biker and I like to ride motorcycles. And she's like, oh, that's kind of cool. And she hadn't really been on motorcycles. I go, no, I really like to ride motorcycles. So we went for like a little ride somewhere, and I don't even remember where it was. And I do remember where it was. We were starting in Idlewild, and Indian let me borrow a motorcycle, and it had heated seats. It was a big Roadmaster. That was the first motorcycle she'd ever been in. Not a good idea, people. When you're going to let your girlfriend or wife ride on a back, don't start with the most comfortable motorcycle made, because then when you switch to another bike, she's like, that other bike was like a lazy boy. And it had heated seats, and we hit snow, and it was everything. But she was a good sport. So then I said, okay, look, I'm going to do my ride next year. Would you like to go out on the ride with me? And she thought about it, and I'm like, I'm going to ride pretty far. As long as you want to go on this ride with me, as long as you want to go on the ride with me, you can go. And she had a much bigger social media following than I did. She had like 500,000 followers on Facebook, and she was on a TV show. So all of a sudden, people are really invested in this ride. and they're telling us, go to this place. So we're looking for the best hot hamburgers. We're looking for the most haunted hotels. And all along, I'm running out of gas in the desert. I'm getting stuck in rain almost every day. And people are watching it because of all the antics and things that happen to us. And by the end, I raised $32,000 for Stop Soldier Suicide.
Excellent.
And we presented a check, and people were really into Riki's Ride, which was the hashtag RIKISRIDE. And we'd go places, and people were like recognizing me from the ride. And we would go to the most incredible places in the world and had the best time. So move ahead to 2020, and we had sponsors that were sponsoring us. So, I didn't have publicists, but people were talking, if I had publicists, I raised more money than a lot of like big charities, but I didn't have the publicists, so we weren't getting the media attention. But we were doing we'd stop at some ice cream place in Alabama, and there were like 100 people there. We went to one place, we pull in somewhere, right? We pull into this little town, and there's red, white, and blue streamers everywhere. And there's a car show, and there's like this band playing on the trailer, and there's like all these old people, and they're all waving flags.
And this is all because they've been following with social media, yeah?
I thought that we had just happened to go to a parade. And they were all, I'm actually getting goosebumps right now. And they did the whole thing for us.
Oh, fantastic.
And we pulled into town, and they gave us some more money. Well, the mayor came out. We met the mayor, and here I am I'm Riki, all tattooed rock guy, and she's all tattooed, and we're sitting there, and the mayor is coming out and saying, thank you for all that you've done, and we are just having the best time. And, there's fans that are suggesting where we stay. There was one fan that said, hey, if you go to Brooklyn, you can stay at my mom's house, and we did it, and it worked great. We rode in, I don't know if that was the year, but one of the years I decided I was going to ride in all 48 states on one ride. Did it. I was only in Maine for 20 minutes. But, we'd go see bands play, and then people say, this place has the world's best grilled cheese. So we'd go there, and we'd do all these things, and it just ended up being so much fun. We raised $32,000. So in 2019, instead of doing a ride, Indian Motorcycles was nice enough to let me use a bike in France. It was just, it was the best. Move ahead to this year. I decided I'm going to do Riki's Ride 20, and it was called Break Free, because I'm going to ride all over America. I've got all these sponsors, and we didn't know where we were going to ride. We just decided we were going to raise money for Alzheimer's Association. Everything was set. All these sponsors are set. Then COVID came out, and then it was COVID. And the deal is Indian Motorcycles, and I ride Indians, and I love Indian motorcycles, but Indian has always been cool enough that when I do these big charity rides, they let me borrow one of their bikes. So I've got a brand new Roadmaster to borrow, and people watch me on the ride, and they're like, okay, that's a good bike, because Riki doesn't even know how to change it. The truth is, I just changed the battery on my Chieftain and set the bike on fire. So, and I wish I was telling you a joke, but it actually happened. So I am no wrench. I'm the first to, the truth is, I've ridden more miles, except for Neil Peart, rest in peace, except for Neil Peart, I've ridden more miles on a motorcycle than anybody in rock and roll, I think. You're the only person that's ridden more miles than I have.
You've ridden more than me.
You've ridden more countries than I have.
There we go.
I don't know. I think you've probably ridden more. But I love long distance motorcycle riding. I love it. And we've got these Cena Bluetooths, so we talk to each other all the time, and she finds a place to eat, and we tell jokes, and and that's how we end up really getting to know each other too. Like we had just started going out when she went on the long ride with me.
Plenty of time together.
Plenty of time, and at the end of the ride, she still wanted to stay with me for some reason. So everything was great. So this year, I'll skip ahead real quick to this year, and I hope I'm not boring everybody with my long stories. This year, we decided to do the ride. The plan was to go to Daytona for the first flat track race of the year, because I also work with American Flat Track, and pick up a dark horse, a Roadmaster dark horse, ride it from Daytona, and then start my ride. All of a sudden, COVID breaks out. And so we decided we were going to ride 10,000 miles with the goal of raising $20,000 for the Alzheimer's Association. And right now we've got about 200 miles left. We're about $3,000 short of reaching our goal. Every penny goes to the Alzheimer's Association.
What's the donation?
If you go to rikisride.com, Do you have the capability to put it right there and everything?
Right there? Or
That's
right
amazing.
there?
That's amazing. It's right there.
actually
You can
right
see
there.
it. I see it. It says rikisride.com, RIKISRID.com.
Tell us what you're doing at the moment, because this...
I'm on your show.
Well, apart from that thing, but like, you've got a really cool gig now with the AMA, right? And
Yeah, I don't know if I'm back next year, but what I do for a living is I do a radio show called Racing Rocks, which I play rock and roll and I talk about NASCAR. I've been doing it for like 17 years on real radio stations. I also have 2 podcasts, one called the Cat House Hollywood podcast that's very successful, and it just tells about the old rock and roll stories of the 80s and 90s, and a new one called the Triple R, which I do with Leah Vendetta, and we have guests and we talk, and I mean, like, the last episode, believe it or not, I was the one that did the last interview with Burt Reynolds. So we have, we'll have Burt Reynolds, the pop star Tiffany, then somebody from Megadeth, and then we'll have, just, it's whatever.
So how do we find this one?
The Triple R podcast or it's the Triple R podcast or Cat House Hollywood podcast, because Cat House was a very famous club that I had in the 80s. It was a rock club. Our house band was like Guns N' Roses, and everybody from Motorhead to Pearl Jam to, Faster Pussycat, White Zombie, Alice in Chains, everybody played my club. So it was so famous. Is it shameless plug yet?
No, but sorry, this is fine. This is all good history.
No, because I have a shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
You tell me when it is time for the shameless plug.
Oh, do
then
it.
I'll
Come
make
on,
it.
let's do a shameless plug.
Okay, I didn't know that you do shameless plugs, but it just so happens that I do sell T-shirts at my T-shirt company.
Oh, it's a perfect segue in, wasn't it?
See this? It was
look at
almost
that.
like, so I have Cat House shirts, I have Headbangers Ball shirts, and you just go to cathousehollywood.com. This is my shameless plug. But I also have these Ricky's Ride shirts. I'm not going to do Ricky's Ride anymore because Ricky's Ride cost me a lot of money. I do it all myself. If somebody decided they wanted to make a TV show about Ricky and Leah riding everywhere in America or any other country, that would be a different story. But I would like a producer. I would like somebody. I don't want a chase vehicle. I don't want a trailer. I don't want a crew. But, we can do it on the phone, but I want somebody to actually pay for it and, sell it and promote it and do stuff like that. Because the truth is, people love following us on rides. I mean, it's pretty cool when you pull up in Manitou Springs in Colorado and there's 2 people waiting there for you. That's it. I talked a lot, but I love talking about motorcycling.
Well, Ricky, we are so excited that you could come out and join us today.
On the 10th episode, double digits. I thought there was going to be cake or coffee or like a piece of fruit.
Yeah,
that'd be probably the 20th episode.
It's pretty lean pickings.
The 20th episode, you'll probably have catering. The 25th
and you know what? The next time you come back, you won't have to film it yourself.
Right, exactly.
So, do you mind just
like
the camera?
The truth is, they're filming this show, and I can't wait till the show's done so I can see if I got any phone calls because you're doing it on my phone. But still, it's great.
I don't think you're supposed to give that part away. Ricky, thanks for coming, man. I hope you guys enjoyed. Oh,
what is that? That is the funniest thing.
Fresh.
That is the funniest thing in the world. What is that cake from?
He was just bitching.
That is so funny. I'm not going to eat any because I have to go get dinner. But that is the funniest thing in the world.
It's only like 4 weeks old.
Come on.
Oh, is it really old?
Yeah. Look.
It was a birthday.
Whose birthday is it? Whose birthday was it?
Very fresh.
What flavor is it?
It's like a chocolate.
Would you eat a piece of it right now, Neil?
I don't feel this. I'd be.
Neither.
I mean, I've traveled and everything and eaten in India, but
It's
you
their.
never know.
I'll put it this way: this is their 10th episode, and the cake says "Congratulations on your first episode."
It does.
So I'm just
yeah.
going to go out on a limb and say, no, I'm probably not going to eat this.
Beautiful, Riki Rachtman. Thanks for coming, buddy.
Thank you. It's always good
We
to see you.
really,
It's always
really
good to
appreciate
see you. It was
having
fun.
you, and hope you guys enjoyed.
And follow our ride, rickysride.com, and if you're in the Charlotte area, please come by Indian Motorcycles of Charlotte when we do the check presentation or watch it streaming. I have no idea when it is going to be, but we'll probably have that cake there too. It could be in 3 months. That cake will be there.
It looks like it would last.
Hello, thank you for joining the breaking news. Tonight, not so much news as a public service announcement. It's no secret that I've had my gastrointestinal challenges, okay? Especially if you go back to episode 1. So, I've been a little clogged lately, and I'm thumbing through Instagram and I see this, little thing pop up. Denmark Detox. So I order a case because its claim is that you can lose 10 pounds in 24 hours. That should have been a bit of a caveat, right? Little red flag. But the timeline was appealing to me. And it sounded like it had a very definitive effect. So, against my better judgment, I took a little swig. And it said here on the front, held og heike. Well, that's Danish for good luck. It's actually
Held og lykke.
held og lykke. That should have been a bit of a warning. 10 minutes into it, I'm starting to hallucinate. And it just tastes like water, but like mushroom flavored water. I saw Mr. T and Betty White dancing, and they were both kind of silvery, almost like rainbows coming off of them. And the Stone Roses were playing live in the background. It was magical. And then I'm woken up by this sound out of my stomach, like somebody taking oboe lessons. Trying not to think about it. Anyways, I don't want to go into too much detail, okay? I'm not trying to appeal to the prurient interest. But I look like one of those modern faucets where the water comes out of both sides for like 24 hours. So it was harsh and it hurt, but it worked. I was a little torn up. So the silver lining to this brown cloud is that I actually had on hand, thank God, a little HLB. Happy little beehole. Because, like I said, it was a painful experience, and this stuff, it just, it equals out your system. Their elevator pitches, it coats your soul, okay, which is what I needed at the time. So, long story short, avoid the Denmark Detox. Here on the back it says "Lest aflaute" or something, which means hope you read the waiver. Well, I didn't read the waiver, all right, and I don't appreciate it because all the lifestyle photos you had on your Instagram of these sexy people having a time with flat stomachs sold me, all right? So why don't you just, do the right thing, okay? Say what you do, explain all the pitfalls along the way, and then if you decide to do it, HLB. Happy little beehole. Good night.
Good evening. I'm Nate, and this is Get Off My Lawn. Now that our show has achieved success that few have on the internet, and people out there that sometimes may not be motorcyclists are watching and enjoying, I want to share an experience I had as a motorcyclist on a recent trip to the mountains. Just to help some of you who may not be privy to the world of the motorcyclist or what we're doing up there, just to help things go a little more smoothly so you don't have people on bikes behind you giving you the California howdy. Okay? So recently we went up to the Tail of the Dragon, which many of you know, but if you don't, it's a very curvy stretch of road in the North Carolina mountains that many motorcyclists or even automotive enthusiasts go to get their kicks on the curvy roads. On this trip, I observed a few of the following that I would warn some of you newbies in cars just to try to avoid. Okay? The first thing is, pull the fuck over. Okay? We don't want to be behind you for 20 minutes while you're rodding the brakes going 5 miles an hour, hanging out the passenger window with your cellular phone, taking pictures of the leaves. Okay? There are pull-offs for that. That's what those pull-offs are for. Not in the middle of a road where people are coming and going at a higher rate of speed. That's not what you want to do. Don't do that. Second, believe it or not, your car, minivan, or SUV is capable of taking a sharp turn more than 15 miles an hour. Okay? You're not going to slide off the road like a tomato off of your sandwich on a hot July day. Okay? Just give it a little more gas, roll off that brake, everything's gonna be okay. All right? Then find a safe spot and see issue 1. Motorcycles, and let's say it's a 4-lane highway, don't pull over into the middle of the pack of the motorcycles that you know are all together. What would possess you to want to do that? Are you that stupid? Just let them go by or speed up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Don't be cutting off groups. Some of the motorcyclists do not care very much for that, and you're on your own on that, okay? It's rude, it's dangerous, don't do it. And lastly, if you go to the mountains like old people screw, slow and not often, just pick a different day, okay? Don't go up there on the weekends when people are out and about trying to schedule or plan your trip so you can take all the time in the world. And then there won't be any problems that way, see? This is Nate. Get off my lawn. Neil? Basil? Where'd everybody go? What is this thing doing? Yeah. God, I think everybody left. Well, Desmo, that's you and me, buddy. I think we pissed everybody off with how many takes I had to take tonight. Well, I guess we ought to do some kind of wrap up, right, buddy? Thanks for watching. And remember,